Welcome to Voices in Mystery. I'm your host, Nancy Carlson, and our first guest today is John Ramsey Miller. You've actually been on the show before.
Yes.
Welcome to the show. Tell us what you brought with you today. It looks like an advanced something or other.
This is an advanced reading copy of The Last Day, which is my 8th novel with Bantam, and it's a standalone. It's not part of a series.
Set it up. Tell us what it starts with.
It's about normal people who are thrown into extraordinary and unpleasant circumstance. It's a man who owns a NASCAR memorabilia company and his wife who's a surgeon, a pediatric surgeon. And they're targeted by a man who wants to kill them in a revenge thing, an imagined slight, it turns out.
So the title doesn't mean the last day on Earth?
Yes, it does.
Oh, dear.
And it's also the anniversary of their 10-year-old son's death, first anniversary.
Oh, I see. Do you have a lot of NASCAR in that book? Because there's so many NASCAR fans.
Well, see, I'm from right near Charlotte, Concord, where they have the racetrack. So this is the first book I've used NASCAR in. And I do have a few characters who are actual people. Dale Earnhardt Jr. makes an appearance, and Jeff Gordon, and Bruton Smith is the owner of the track in one scene that takes place in the restaurant there.
And do you know those people, or did you just take liberties with them and place them in your fiction?
I knew plenty of people who knew them, but I didn't know them personally. I've never been to the track except one day to research the facility itself because I was setting a scene in the restaurant overlooking the track. So.
Plus, you have memorabilia stored
yes,
in there.
So and I had a friend who sold memorabilia for a company, so I knew sort of how it worked.
When will this be on the shelves in bookstores?
December 30th. It's in what they call a mass release. It goes out to most bookstores and anywhere you see paperbacks. It's a mass trade.
Now, does the publisher decide on that time and you have to fit your writing to fit that time, or is your book written long before that?
Well, I had 3 books written that they put out in the same year. They kept saying, just wait, let's read the second one and we'll figure out how we're going to market them. And I actually had the 3rd book. It took 3 years. I had the 3rd book before they put them out, and they put them all out within a year.
So you surely don't gauge your happiness by what the publisher says, right? You have to live a life.
That's right. I have another life. I do this for my day job, but I do have another life.
Right, because if you're just dependent on when those books come out, it could be years,
It absolutely could be years.
And you're always writing something that no one knows anything about, because by the time these books come out, that's old news to you.
Right, and when today they were asking me about characters I couldn't remember. I'm trying to think which book was that. So yeah, it's hard to keep up, and I'm in a whole new book now. I'm halfway through another one.
You have a series, correct?
I have a series that Inside Out, Upside Down, Side by Side, and Smoke and Mirrors are all the same, basically the same characters. And then characters in those books will appear in my other books, but they're not main characters.
And you set your books in modern time?
I do.
In North Carolina?
Well, this one is set in North Carolina, of course, but normally I set in places I've lived: Miami, New Orleans, the Mississippi Delta. I grew up in the Mississippi Delta, and I set Smoke and Mirrors there.
Now, when did you know that you were a writer? When did you become a writer, and then when was it when you could stop working somewhere else and start writing? What's your backstory there?
My backstory was I was an art major, and I did graphic arts and photography. I took photography courses at Southern Illinois, SIU, and didn't get a degree in it, but I started doing it. And I did a lot of magazine work and album covers and that sort of thing for years. And I always wrote on the side. And one day I was in an advertising agency, and their copywriter hadn't showed up. The guy said, I need a headline real bad for this campaign. And I was sitting there and I gave it to him. He ran out of the room and had him set it in type and sold it to the client. He said, you know, you really should be doing this instead of the photography. You're a good photographer, but you have a thing for, if you can do what you just did, you should be doing it full time. So I ended up owning that ad agency. Erica Spindler's husband and I were partners. She wrote her first book sitting at my computer when I wasn't copywriting.
Oh, that's funny.
So, and I went from that to, I wrote for the Miami Herald. I was freelance, but I wrote features for the Sunday magazine that Dave Barry and those guys are with, and Gene Weingarten, and great bunch of people. And Gene Weingarten said, "You're just terrible with facts. You should really write fiction. Because you're a great writer, but you should write fiction." I did. I wrote a couple screenplays, and I started writing the novels. And it took a few years and 100 rejections, but I got my feet in the door.
Since you have graphic arts and advertising background, does it make you crazy that you don't get to design your own cover or to find photos or do the art or whatever? For
Well, because
books?
I work with wonderful people who understand that I do have a background in it, I do get input. They usually send me a cover and say, "We hope you love the cover as much as we do." And if I don't love it,
Then
I can say so, and they'll say, "Okay, what do you think we should do?"
But you're not the graphic designer.
I'm not the
on your
graphic
own
designer.
book.
No.
They
I'm
draw
not.
the line at that.
They draw the
letting-
line at that. Yes.
Letting you do that. Tell us about your character in Inside Out, Upside Down, Side by Side. Not Too Far Gone. Smoke and Mirrors. The ones
Smoke and
that have
Mirrors.
two words. In
Right.
The
Well, we
title.
did Through and Through. Smoke and Mirrors was supposed to be called Through and Through, but I was so tired of the titles, the cutesy titles. I said, we really ought to name it something else. And Kate Misiak, my editor, said, "How about Smoke and Mirrors? It's kind of like, that makes sense." I said, "Oh, that's great." So we.
Is it about a magician or a sideshow fellow?
It's about a villain who shows up in Upside Down who didn't kill the protagonist for his own reasons, and he comes back to complete the job 2 books later.
Oh, that sounds
So-
wonderful.
And Smoke and Mirrors because he's always disguised and he's always figuring these elaborate games to play to draw whoever he's going to kill in and fool them. And his punchline at the end is, "I'm here to kill you," and you thought I was, somebody totally innocent and friendly. And somebody that didn't look like me. So it was fun.
That sounds
fun to
like
write.
fun. So when did you know that you could stop working for the man?
When I sold The Last Family in 1996, I made enough money with that book that I was good for a couple of years, and it just I've been living on it ever since. Not that book, but book to book. And my wife does work; she's a banker, so it's not like if my checks don't come for a while, I'll starve to death.
Right, but it's a big commitment on your part when you say you're a writer. Now you have to write.
That's right, and I do, and I've been writing steadily since. So.
Do you share your work with other writers in a writer group, or are you nervous about that or protective in that you don't want someone to criticize your work?
It's not the criticism. I don't mind criticism. When you're in advertising, everybody criticizes, and you have to change things work because somebody's wife decided they didn't like it. So I've never minded. I've been real thick-skinned about that, but I don't generally talk about it because it just takes the energy out of it. I usually wait until I talk to my agent, of course, and my editor, and I tell them what I'm going to do. But I just think the problem with showing people your work when you're starting out is people who know, there may be people who know who can tell you what you're doing wrong, and there may be people who just don't like it and they can't really tell you why, and there may be people who say it's wonderful and it's not.
Right.
So
They're not the kind of friends to have because they're not helping you any.
that's right, but they may think they're helping.
Yeah.
And so if you want an honest opinion, give it to an editor.
Well, thank you so much. John Ramsey Miller was with us today on Voices in Mystery. I hope you'll come back often, and
I
best
will.
wishes on your books.
Thank you.